I think I saw you first, yeah.
Do you write all the dialogue and everything yourself, or does somebody else do that? And how much time does that take to write out the full script?
I write the dialogue myself. Usually what takes the longest is plotting out what's actually going to happen. Like I know that, okay, you know, Joey grabs the saxophone and they have a conversation, they have an argument. And usually the dialogue itself comes pretty naturally from that. It depends, like some areas were harder than others. That's really all I can say. But I do it all myself. Anybody else? Yes?
Do you have an idea about how many art assets it took to make the game?
How many art assets? Well, I can tell you. No, I can't because I don't have the engine on me. There are about, I think about 10 backgrounds. There's, I don't want to waste time trying to figure it out. I think there's about like 6 or 7 characters. Only 2 of them actually walk. The other ones that walk are ghosts, which are kind of easy to animate. So I can't say for sure. You know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I'm sorry. My artist would wish I can pimp how much work she did, but I'm sorry, I don't know. Yes?
What is the engine built in? What programming language?
It's built in an engine called Adventure Game Studio, or AGS for short. It's a freeware engine you could download, and it's kind of geared towards making these old school adventure games. So that's what I use. And yes?
How many characters and total lines of dialogue are there?
Wow. Well, right now I have, the only way I know how many lines of dialogue is because when I do the audio stuff and I import them all, I have to give them all a number. And right now I am up to, I haven't imported all of them yet, but I think it's up to 3,020, 200 something so far. So there's a lot of dialogue in the game.
How many characters?
I think there's about 7 or 8 altogether. Yes?
Could you compare an adventure game studio as a platform to some of the other alternatives in that area? And like for example, I know all your games are 320 by 200. Is that a limitation of HDS or is that stylistic choices?
It's a limitation of not having enough money. No, it's not a limitation of AGS. You can actually go really high res in AGS. It's just that for me, in order for me to, I had a choice, considering the budget, which is very small, that I have. I could either go with really good high-res graphics that would take a long time and would be very expensive, or I could go with high-res graphics that are, you know, kind of okay. But the good thing about low-res graphics, for my purposes, is that you can get, like, a really good artist can make really good low-res graphics in a short amount of time, and they're a lot cheaper. So just for me, it's a lot more practical to go with low-res. Just because being an independent guy trying to make a living doing these games, I want to keep the games as quality, but I also want to get them out as soon as possible. So I want to get the assets made as soon as possible. So low-res is really the way for me to go right now until I get a budget to hire like a full-time art staff, which I certainly have. I cannot foresee that happening in the near future. So for now, low-res it is. Yes? Well, including the time it took to design. Just from when I started production from start to finish, I started it at the beginning of May, and we're about a couple of weeks from finishing. So it's been about a little over 4 months. Anyone else? Yes?
What's the price of the game, and how do you go about selling it?
It's going to be $10 or $9.99, and I sell it off my website. And it's going to be sold through distributors like Manifesto and anyone else that wants to take it, pretty much. Yes, in the back.
I was wondering, you said the toughest part is figuring out what's going on. Do you have like an end to the story in mind when you're working on it? It's just the details getting to the end point, or do you like start walking and make up kind of what you're going to eventually get off?
Do I make it up as I go along? Is that what you're asking? No. Pretty much what the process that I go in making these games, because since it deals with ghosts, you have to kind of investigate their story, their life. So there's a lot of backstory that I create first. And after the backstory is, okay, you have all this nice backstory, how do you go about investigating and finding out how this stuff happened? Rather than just like reading diaries or whatever. You know, you want to talk to people and experience stuff as opposed to just reading stuff. So everything, I kind of know exactly, I know the end point. And the hardest part for me is how do you get there? And how do you make the puzzles logical enough and not frustrating enough, and make them, as I like to have the puzzle, I like to have puzzles that are more real world based, and not like use a fish on a door kind of thing. So that's always the most challenging part for me. Does that answer your question? All right, anyone else? Yes, and back.
How did you handle the sound?
Sound? I have a composer that did it for me, and I have actor friends who are starving actors and they work for pizza or beer, and I'm very lucky because they're actually really talented, so I'm very lucky. I have a headset mic in my apartment. It's very low tech. Anyone else? Yes?
Considering the kind of obscurity of your genre, how do you market the game and how do your customers find it?
Well, usually the hardcore adventure gamers are going to find it. They all know. And for years, I did freeware games. So I did a bunch of adventure games and released them for free before I started selling them. So I kind of already had a bit of a fan base, which helped a little bit. There's a big difference between going commercial and being freeware. But that certainly helped get me started. And just word of mouth, mostly. I try and find... I'm not a marketing person, so it's always been a struggle to figure out how to do it. But I've found... People have found it. Usually I advertise on webcomics or websites that cater to adventure games, that kind of thing. Yes, last question.
So how many copies of the first game did you sell, and did you take that into account when you were budgeting for this game?
Yes, I can't tell you how many that were sold. I can't do that. Although I will say that I put this game up for pre-order recently, and it was very hard to sell the game because I wasn't used to marketing, and it was such a lot of work. So every time I would seriously market it, I would pick up like 12 customers here, 20 there, 30 there, blah, blah, blah. So I never really thought it was doing well, but I put this game up for pre-order recently. But all those customers that I gathered over the course of the year, suddenly they're all buying it at once. They're all pre-ordering it at once. So it's like, whoa. So that was really nice. And if I can get the next game out relatively quickly and not wait 8 months, and I do have a design in place, then I think that should work well. Do we have time for one more, or are we done? We're done, guys. Sorry. Thank you.